Welcome back, book besties. Today we're going to be wrapping up March, and I just have to say it was a really good reading month. I did have a couple of DNFs that I'm going to be mentioning, but for the most part, March was honestly pretty fantastic for me reading wise. So let's get into it. Before we get into the actual talking about books, I have to make the disclaimer that there's a lot of noise going on around me. I am currently not at home. As you can see, I'm staying at a hotel, and there's noises everywhere. There's people walking on the hallways, there's cars outside, there's buzzing noises in here. My cat is trying to be a menace as well. Actually, no, she's very sweet. She's just hanging out, she's just chilling. But there's just random noises going on around. So please excuse that. Let's not let that discourage us from having the book conversation that we need to have, and let's get into it. And I think I already said that, but let's get into it now. March was a fantastic reading month. February, not so much. That's why there's no February reading wrap up. But for March, I ended up completing 8 books, and I DNF'd a couple that I'm going to be talking about as well. But the month started out with me reading the romance books that I wasn't able to finish during February, and then getting interrupted because you know me, I'm a mood reader, so I will go where my brain takes me. So originally, when I started the month, I was already reading Broken Pieces by Jim Quiros, and I was reading also First Time Color by B.K. Borison, which no, I have not finished either of them. Reason why I haven't finished them, I think it's because I'm reading First Time Color and as a physical book, and Broken Pieces as an ebook, and my brain right now, at least this month, has not wanted to grab and read something that I have to look at. So my thing this month has definitely been, for the most part, audiobooks. I have finished a couple ebooks and actual books, but for the most part, it's been just about the audiobooks. So the first book that I actually managed to finish was an ebook, ironically, and it was an arc that I got for A Foul Match by Sarah Madeline. And I found this book randomly scrolling through threads. I have a lot of authors on threads, and they just keep popping up on my feed. So I saw that the author was looking for arc readers, and I filled out the form just because, just to whatever. And then I get an email that my book was ready to download, and that blew my freaking mind. So I obviously dropped everything and started reading that one, and I actually finished it. And I think it was because of the pressure of knowing that this was an arc, and it was an arc given directly by the author that was expecting a review. I think that's what motivated me to actually finish it. But the book was really good. I rated it 4 stars. At first it started kind of weird in terms of how the writing style was going. It sounded kind of off, but honestly, as the book progressed, it got so much better that I forgot about all of that and everything that was happening in the beginning, because I did find a couple of things about the main characters that I was like, why? But then everything made sense at the end. The second book I read in March, I actually found in a very funny way. If you've been watching my channel for a little bit, and especially if you've been watching my birthday vlogs, you might know what I'm talking about. One of the days that I was with my friends at the Book House Hotel in Pennsylvania, we went to Barnes & Noble. And one of the boys was hanging out with the girls, and we were in the romance section. And he decided that it would be a good idea to grab a random book from the end cap display and just open it on a random page and read it. If you want to know what happens, go watch my vlogs. But his reaction to what he read was hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And so that made me curious, let me read the book and see what it's about. So the book in question is actually one of those books that you have one story on one side, you flip the book and you have another story. So it's a combination between Head Coach and Virgin Territory, a Helium's hockey romance collection. And this is by Leah Riley. The book that he randomly opened and read the bizarre stuff, and I think it was Head Coach, if I'm not mistaken. Um, but I just read both things. They are not, they are kind of interconnected, but not really. They're different stories. So you can read them in whatever order, and I believe there's a couple more books in that series as well. But point is that they were very interesting. I rated both books because I put on story graphs that they would be counted as one book, and I rated it 3.75 stars. Virgin Territory, I didn't actually like it that much, hence the rating. Head Coach, I thought the story was a lot better. There were more emotions and it just made more sense. I don't know. Virgin Territory was like okay-ish. I don't even remember much about it. I just know that Head Coach was had more developed characters. I feel like the characters in Head Coach were a lot more lovable and a lot more just your actual realistic people. And granted, it's books. You know, books don't have to be realistic, but there's ways of doing it. And I feel like in Head Coach, it was done properly. So to me, that was the book that I enjoyed. Virgin Territories is a so-so for me. After that, for some reason, I went into this mental moment where I was craving reading weird stuff. And when I crave reading weird stuff, I turned to literary fiction, and that is what I did. I randomly found Ordinary Human Failings by Megan Nolan. And if you asked me what the book was about, I honestly cannot tell you. I do not remember the plot line exactly. I just know that I gave it 3 stars and I was so confused the entire time. Why did I decide to push through? There were still elements of the book that kept me interested and kind of curious to see what would happen. But as it is with literary fiction is more of an everyday internal monologue kind of thing rather than books with very developed worlds, I would say. Like literary fiction obviously it does develop the world, but they're very contemporary typically, and they focus more on the character rather than the world and the situations. Like the situations happen to the character and your focus is on how the character reacts to those things and how the character sees the world. So you don't really get in my opinion, you don't really get a very clear goal. You're kind of just like living life with that person. That's how I see literary fiction. I could be super wrong. I read a similar book, which was Piglet by Lottie Hayson. And again, I rated it 3 stars. This one made more sense to me because it was the main character's fight against people telling her what to do and making her feel bad about who she is. And it also was a story about her being true to herself and making the decisions that made her happy rather than going for the things that she thought she had to go for. I think it was a very powerful book, but I was close to DNFing it a couple of times because it feels like monotone. And again, I think that's the thing of the genre, is not so much the writer. So technically the books are supposed to be like that because that's the essence of literary fiction, if I'm not mistaken. It was just me. I get it. I know it was just me and where my brain was when I was reading that. Now, I have read other literary fiction books that keep me more engaged. So definitely it's like a combination of both things. But for the most part, I did enjoy it. I think it was a good message on how to live your life and how to see the world and how to analyze, you know, your experiences and not just letting people walk all over you and tell you how to live your life, right? So that was Piglet. And you know, I that one I do recommend. Like if you're having an existential crisis, maybe it's a good way to think about life. I don't know, that's what I got from it. So next we go back into one of those impulsive reads that I got because someone else was reading them and I got very, very interested. And this series, because it is a series, but I'm going to talk about the first book first. I didn't think I would be able to get through it because I am not a fantasy reader, or at least I'm not really good at reading high fantasy, which is what I believe this is. I typically read romantasy, and when I try to read fantasy, I get really confused and I just DNF because it's like, what the heck is happening? But I think what helped me get through this was that I heard everyone talking about it, saying that the first book was the hardest. So I pushed through the first book and managed to get almost through the series. So the series in question is the Farseer series, and it is by Robin Hobb. And this is actually an old series. And when I say old, it's as old as me. Just saying. I can say it's old because it's as old as me. It was written, I think, a year after I was born or something. So it is The Assassin's Apprentice. That's the first book. And in all honesty, I have no idea what happened in the first book. I only remember that the main character is given back to his dad's family, which happens to be the royal family. And his grandpa on his mom's side takes him away from his mom because he don't want him. So he sends him to the palace or the castle or whatever it is that they live. And that's how the story starts developing because they don't want him either. So he ends up being like raised by one of the people that work for the royal family. And you know, that first book was pretty confusing to me. I don't know what happened the majority of the time, but something in it kept me listening because it was the audiobook. If it had been the physical book, I would not have been able to get through it. But it definitely, there was something about it that kept me going. So I finished it and I gave it 2.75 stars because I didn't understand it. The book is not bad. That's the main thing. Maybe it's an unfair rating, but I can't rate it anything else that it's not what I felt. I might reread it at some point. Maybe give it a higher rating because now I know what the heck is happening. But that first book was rough. It was definitely rough. So, you know, you do with that what you will. After that, I needed a palate cleanser. I needed something to get my brain to calm down and kind of like get back into place. So I read The Art of Catching Feelings by Alicia Thompson. And that one I rated 5 stars because it was a romance and I knew what was going on. And that was such a cute, I think it was a baseball romance. And it starts with the female main character being super rude. And it ends with, honestly, she makes a lot of mistakes throughout. But the way that the book ends is so freaking cute. Like it gives you a more meaningful problem between them. Yes, the main character could have avoided the situation that happened, but the way the author explains why she didn't actually makes sense. Because you know, there's a lot of romance books with plot lines like that, that the decisions that the characters make or the reasons why they have issues between the main couple, there's just stupid stuff that you just want to get into the book and kind of like shake them. But in this one, you can really feel the real fears and the real insecurities and the real reasons why she did what she did. It made sense to me and I enjoyed the book, so I rated it 5 stars. Moving forward with the books that I read, I continued the Farseer series and I read book 2, which is The Royal Assassin. And this is when things started to make a little bit more sense to me. But honestly, as it is with not every, but a good majority of the trilogies that I read, for some reason the middle book feels boring. Not that it's a bad book. It's just that whenever I read trilogies, for the most part, the middle book, I don't like it because it just feels like, yes, they're developing the story and yes, there's things that happen. But for me, it just feels like a filler. I don't know why, but I tend to feel like middle books in trilogies are filler books. And because still at this point I wasn't super familiar with the world, like I couldn't necessarily understand what was going on, then you know, it was still difficult. It was a 3-star read for me, but by the end of this book, this is when I started really understanding what was happening. So currently, as we speak, I am a little over the 50% mark of the third book, which is, I have no idea what it's called, but I'll put it here somewhere. But the third book, I am actually reading it right now, and everything is making sense. I am in the world, I am with the characters, I know what's going on. Like, the third book, I actually understand it pretty well. Have I zoned out a couple of times and there are a couple of blank spaces in my head? Yes. But I feel like that's more of my normal how I listen to books, that I just do it. I don't know. It just happens. But for the most part, this book, I can really say that I'm actually enjoying it and I am understanding what's happening. And because it is the third book in the trilogy, this is when things are actually happening. So it's keeping me more engaged because there's action and there's a lot of stuff. What I do have to say though, boy, why do you keep getting captured? My boy Fitz is always getting captured. He needs to chill. He needs to hide better or something. I don't know. They keep catching him and they keep putting him in dungeons or whatever. Like, bro, you know? But anyway, that said, I'm really enjoying the series and I am hoping to finish it today. I'm not including it in the video because I did want to record the video before the month ended, and today is the 31st. So I'm probably gonna count this book towards next month, even though half of it I already read it in March. But it's a really long book. The audiobook is like 36 hours. So this is probably going to be in April's reading wrap up. But yes, I do still want to make a video talking about this because even though I'm not a fantasy reader, I feel like I can give an insight from a non-fantasy reader, giving you a different opinion on how this kind of book feels like and how it reads for people who are not accustomed to the series, to the genre in general, right? So that may or may not come in the future. Let me know, because because it is a kind of difficult series for me. It's probably going to be difficult to come up with what I would say about it in a video. But if you really want to watch it, let me know in the comments, because if I see even one person that wants to see it, I will make a lot more effort into trying to explain how my experience was. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you're interested in knowing if the Farseer series is actually good or not. Like I said, I am enjoying the third one. First and second, so-so. But we'll see when I actually finish the book and how that went. And finally, I finished one nonfiction book, which was Atomic Habits by James Clear. And this is a very popular book. I feel like even if you're not someone that is into self-helpy nonfiction kind of books, you have probably heard about it because this is all over the internet and all over professional feeds and whatever. And I generally enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 stars because, I don't know, it didn't blow my mind necessarily, but I did like the way that it talked about habits, obviously, and how they impact your life. I have to say that the one part of the book that really stuck to me was when he was talking about pairing new habits with things that you already do or things that make you happy. So in order for you to build a habit of something that is more difficult, pair it with something that feels rewarding, something that feels good. Like, I think the example that he was giving in the book was, you like to read about this topic and you want to do exercise, so you only get to read about the topic when you exercise, so you're looking forward to doing it. And I think that's genius. As someone who has a lot of trouble building the habits that I should be building for the things that I want to achieve, I think that's going to be a strategy that I'm going to try and start to apply into my life and see how it goes. But yeah, for the most part, it's a self-help book. For the most part, you take what works for you, you dump the rest. That's how I approach nonfiction books. Now, let's talk about the DNFs. I had not DNF'd the book since January. This month, I only DNF'd 2 books. And I don't really feel bad about it. I'll be so honest. I don't feel bad about it because I feel like they were just not hitting. The first one, you probably already saw it in one of my library book hauls that I recorded recently. The book in question is called Sell Online, like a creative genius. And even though I don't feel bad about DNFing it, I also feel kind of dumb about it because this is a very useful book in my opinion. It was a very short, very small, easy to read book with advice on how to sell online. And as someone that is starting out a business online, that should have been something that I read really easily. But I do definitely think that the issue that I'm having right now is that I'm having trouble reading physical and ebooks. And if I had been reading this as an audiobook, I would have devoured it. But because it was a physical book, I think my brain just doesn't want physical books right now. I only finished that one ebook at the beginning of the month, and then I have been trying to read more like physical and ebooks. Like I'm literally still trying to get through First Time Caller, and I have Broken Pieces here. But my brain just doesn't want me to actually sit and look at the page. So I've been listening to audiobooks to get through the books that I actually got through. The second book that I DNF'd was Fallen by Lauren Kate, and this is a pretty old book. Like this is from 2009, and it's the book that the Fallen series, I think on Netflix is, oh no, it's not a series, it's a movie. The movie is based on this book, and the reason why I tried to read the book is because I watched the movie recently. And you know, my logic was I'll read the book because they didn't do the series. Why do I keep saying series? They didn't make the movies for the rest of the series. So I figured, let me read the book and then I can continue reading the series and I know what the heck will happen, you know, in that world, whatever. I got bored. I got so bored. I didn't know what was going on. Like I couldn't pay attention to it. I don't know why. So I just had to DNF it. I think I got not even that far into it. Like I can't even tell you what was happening. So if you're interested in this story, just watch the movie. And that's so crazy of me to say because I'm always the type of person that is like, oh, the book was better kind of thing. I've learned that that is not always the case. And in this case, I very much don't feel like it has anything to do with having watched the movie first. I think having watched the movie first was what allowed me to get further in the book than what I could have or what I would have gotten if I hadn't watched the movie. So it definitely was not about the differences between the movie and the book. It was just that I got bored. So that brings me to the end of how March went as a reading month, and I definitely feel like March was a month that I was seeking comfort in reading. So I think that's why I read a lot. Not a lot physically or ebooks, but definitely a lot of audiobooks. And it was just, I don't know, I needed it. I feel like that's what I needed. And I'm hoping for April to be also a very good reading month for me. I do have to say before I finish this video that I started a second channel, and it's called Everyday Reveries. I think it's not searchable just yet because, you know, the YouTube algorithm won't let you find a channel that doesn't have content or something like that. I don't know. I tried searching myself up and I couldn't find it, but I did link it on this channel, I think. Actually, it didn't let me link it on this channel. I was able to link this channel on that other channel. So I will manually link it to this video so you can find it and maybe go give it a follow. But this whole YouTube algorithm thing is chaotic. Anyway, that channel is going to be more of an artistic expression. I feel like I need a space where I can explore who I am as an artist. I feel like I am ready to approach art in a different way. And so this channel is more of a everyday lifestyle kind of thing, more of a I talk to you and we discuss books and hobbies and all that kind of stuff. But that channel is going to be faceless for the time being. And it's going to be more about the actual product that comes out of artistic expression rather than the discussion, how we do on this channel. It's meant to be relatable, but it's also meant to be more of the essence of who I am as a person. So there's going to be a lot of reflections and a lot of thoughts and a lot of opinions, but not in a controversial way, more on a more philosophical, poetic way kind of thing. And I'm not going to be posting super frequently there on purpose because I want the videos on there to take more time. I feel like that's going to be the channel that I'm going to use to hone my editing skills and just explore and have fun with it, you know. This channel is more about, you know, have to make sure the lighting is correct and this is correct and the other is correct. But with that channel, it's going to be more like, let's try moods and, you know, I don't know, tones and whatever. Like, that channel is meant to make you feel something. This channel is meant to be more of a conversation. It's more like we're best friends and we're going to talk and we're going to laugh about things and share about life and whatever. So I wanted to have two separate spaces where I could do both things, because I felt like if I put it in this channel, it would just be too much and it would just not make sense and it wouldn't come out as I wanted it to. So hence the reason for the second channel. But yeah, that channel I will be posting soon. I already have the first video almost ready. So that's gonna be coming out probably in the next 1 or 2 weeks. I think I already have the idea for the second one, so I'm going to be working on the behind the scenes aspect of it today. And then when I get home, start recording. So with that said, thank you so much for spending the day with me. Well, these couple minutes with me talking about books. Let me know in the comments, what the heck did you read in March? Did you love it? Did you hate it? How did March go for you as a reading month? And with that said, thank you so much. I'll catch you on the next one.